Good afternoon, boomers. We are so lucky today to have Stefan Heinz with us, an old friend of mine, and I am happy to have him come and talk with us. Well, a little about his background. He is one of our younger boomers, and to talk with us about something some of us have questions about, which is what really is involved with a reverse mortgage. And Stefan has studied this particularly, so I'm thrilled to have him be with us today. So Stefan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Well, just to begin with, could you just talk a little about your background, and how you came to be here with us in Denver?
In Denver. Okay, good. Well, I met a lovely lady many, many years ago in Cancun, Mexico, while I was there on vacation. And she lived here in Denver. I lived in Switzerland. She ended up moving to Switzerland. We got married. Um, she didn't feel as home in Switzerland as we both wanted, and so we decided to move here. And that's what we did. And that's
Ah,
how I got here.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I I happen to know that lovely lady. So
Yes.
I'm so glad that things worked out for you to be here.
Yeah.
Well,
Same here.
I know that you have a lot of technical skills and computer skills and financial skills, but
Hmm.
today I particularly wanted to talk about reverse mortgages because that's something that is often recommended to us as seniors
Hmm.
who who have who have a house
Hmm.
uh, that we bought when it was at a much lower price than it is
Correct.
now.
Yeah. Yes.
And looking at, well, should we stay in the house or should we sell our house and move to something that's less expensive or what?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
um, could you talk about that a little?
A little, yes. I mean that is certainly something. It's a big topic where with many, 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 many details and facets, and that is not easy to simplify. Okay, and I'm saying it that way not to make people afraid or anything, not at all, because it's not difficult. It's just there's many things to think about. Okay. Um, so just to give you an example, um, when I thought about moving here, there were many different aspects to think about. It was not just, oh, let's get the suitcase and book a flight and we'll be here. No,
Right.
there were a few more aspects to think about. Not difficult, nothing complicated, but you want to think about those things rather than landing here and then, oh, I need a visa. How do I get a visa in like 2 minutes? Because you don't. Um, and and it's about the same with the reverse mortgage. So some very basics things about it are, in general, you need to be at least 62 years of age to be able to get a reverse mortgage. There are some proprietary programs from different lenders who already give out a reverse mortgage when you're 55 or older. Okay, so there are
Okay.
other options. Um, what I hear often is the fear that people are being chased out of their house.
Right.
You know,
Is it accurate that with a reverse mortgage, uh, even if they have taken the whole value of the house, they can't throw you out of your house?
that's correct.
So that's the big advantage of.
Yeah, so in a reverse mortgage is always a risk for the lender. Okay. I mean, every mortgage is, but the risk if with the reverse mortgage is different. And I mean, we're you're asking me a few questions here, and I'm sure there's more questions and that I don't even know yet about, but there are some touchy questions and topics, and I hope I have your permission to just say those things that maybe are uncomfortable for people to confront and look at,
Sure.
but they're important. So the risk for the lender is that the borrower gets very old. To say it bluntly, that's the risk.
Well, that's
Because,
the same as like for an annuity or something,
yeah, exactly.
where you invest and they're
Hmm.
paying out every
Hmm.
month that you live,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So, and the important thing to also know is it's not like there's one reverse mortgage program. There's several different reverse mortgage programs. There's just to keep it very simple, there's the one-time payout
Oh, where the
where
bank pays you a lump
you get
sum.
you get a lump sum at the time of closing. There's a slight variation of that when you have too much equity in the house. So let's say you own the house free and clear, or you have just like maybe 10% left on your mortgage or something like that. So you have a lot of equity in the house. Then you can't even get this whole amount of equity in one lump sum. There's a limit to what you get in your first payment. So then
Mhm.
you get maybe a second payment, fine. But still, it's lump sum. And um, that's one version. The other program is the HECM, home equity conversion mortgage. Means you convert your the equity of your house into a line of credit.
Mhm.
Okay, very different. And in both cases, the lender looks at the situation, looks at your age. If there's a spouse in the house, looks at the age of the spouse, and the younger is relevant.
Mhm.
Okay, for not to get the reverse mortgage, but to look at basically at the risk. So let's say, when we're being tested and trained, we get all these fancy uh, situations presented. So let's say the main borrower and the person on title is 75 years old,
Mhm.
okay? And the spouse is 45.
Oh,
Happens,
yes.
okay? So then, yes, the borrower can get the reverse mortgage, but the risk for the lender is that the surviving spouse, let's say it's the 45-year-old spouse, stays in the house. And then that time that house is being used and not available for the lender to recoup the money is much, 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 much longer.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So these now the that's where then a loan officer comes in and talks to the borrower and explains all those things, goes over the numbers, and then the question is if this is a good way to go. Is the reverse mortgage a good thing to do at this point? Or
Mhm.
are there other options, other financial instruments that are maybe better in that situation?
Aha.
Okay.
Like.
Well, here's the thing. We are a highly regulated industry. Loan officers, we are highly regulated. So there's certain things I'm allowed to say and to do, and certain things I'm not allowed. Now, if I would answer your question, I would go into financial advice, which I'm not allowed to do because there's financial advisors, and that's their job. And I really don't want to, yeah, and I really don't want to cross the line here because we get our license for a reason and they get their license for a reason because they know all the things about that. I like to work with financial advisors for that reason.
Oh, gotcha. All
So
right. So if someone said that to us, we shouldn't freak out about it.
no, 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 not at all. It's just there's information and you just need to look, what I always say is look at the numbers. In the end, as as strange and boring as it sounds, seriously, the numbers give you the reality. And the the how should I say? The sad thing, it really makes me sad sometimes. What I hear often is people make up stories in their minds about what this could be the best and this could be the best, and then when this happens and that happens, and I'm like, why don't we just start with the numbers? I'm not saying the numbers are the ultimate, okay?
Mhm,
But the numbers give you a reality. And then you can think, what do I want to do?
mhm.
Okay. Maybe the numbers with this reverse mortgage are not the best, but it gives me peace of mind. Awesome. You
And
know,
that would be a reason to choose it.
and then it would be the perfect reason. Okay. Now, that just I want to make sure that this also gets said and very early in the process so that people understand. Um, when I when I have been approached with reverse mortgage requests, I always ask if there's anybody inheriting the house, if there's any interest or if there's anybody interested in the house, like if there's children, if
Uh-huh.
there's relatives who um, are expecting to receive the house. Okay. Because if that were the case, I would highly recommend to include those people, those relatives, in the process, in the conversation.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So there's not a major upset at that.
There could be an upset. There could be, that's where very often those conversations come from. Like the bank stole the house from us.
Ah,
Okay. So, um, yeah, maybe you stop there. Does that give you, I mean, there's obviously lots more details, understand,
yes.
but
So now what would happen, Stefan, um if I had a house and
mhm,
I went for a reverse mortgage,
mhm,
and then at some point, um, I got dementia
mhm.
or an illness that required me to go get skilled nursing care in a nursing home.
Yeah. So one requirement for you to uh, keep the reverse mortgage is that that primary residence stays your primary residence. So you need to live in that house.
Okay,
Okay. So if
and
you move out into a nursing home,
yes,
then you basically lose the grounds for that reverse mortgage.
and then what would happen?
Then the question is there somebody who inherits from you and who is interested in getting the house back?
And so they
That
would have to pay what the bank had paid out,
there's
basically.
all kinds of calculations. It depends. It's not quite as simple as that, but it goes that direction, and there's a maximum. Okay. Um, so the heirs always have the option to buy the house back.
Hmm.
They, and that's the first option.
Okay, so
If they can do that, you know.
they have the right of, what do they, right of first refusal? Is that what they call that?
No, they have to be asked. They're the first ones to have to be asked, and there's even a certain time frame that, it's not like, oh, sorry, your parents passed away last night. You have until tomorrow night to get the reward. No, it's not that. There's long times, um, weeks until the bank really can just go, okay, good. You had your opportunity, you didn't use it. Sorry for that. There is
But
it.
they understand
Look,
about
the
making
thing,
arrangements.
yeah, the important thing to understand is that reverse mortgages were created back in the 80s originally. The reverse mortgages we're talking about today have almost nothing in common with those back then.
Ah, well, that's important to know.
Exactly.
Um,
So there's many things because breakdowns happened. There was an original product, great intentions, and then it was misused, or there were things happening that weren't thought about. And so people got into financial scrutiny. And so, yeah, the lawmakers realized that, took time. Yes, and then breakdowns happened, and more breakdowns happened, and all that. But adjustments were made and are continued to be made to make sure that the people who are using the reverse mortgage are protected as
Mhm.
much as possible. Okay. At the same time, a lender is in business of making money.
Right.
That's the reality.
It's not a
Um,
charitable operation.
it's not a charitable operation. No, it's not. Now, there's always ways so that it's a win-win situation, where the lender can make their business fine, and at the same time, the borrower gets everything they want and is protected and is happy and is fine and all good. You know, like I had conversations with people who said, my kids are not interested in the house. I This is my house. I bought it. I paid the mortgage. This is my property. I want to use it.
Right. Get the value.
Very, very clear situation.
Yeah. But if you don't ask your kids to participate in the whole thing, that may not actually be the case.
Yeah, that might not end well. Yes. Yeah. And then there's another important, since we're talking about the process, and another important point, reverse mortgage is one of those products where the borrower has to get a consultation by an independent, licensed person. Okay, somebody who is licensed to do those consultations and is not in any way related to the company that you go to get the reverse mortgage.
Oh,
Okay,
somebody independent.
completely independent. Like if you were to come to me, the first question would be if you had already had that consultation.
Hmm.
Okay, and then if not, then I would give you some resources where you could go, or you could find it yourself. That's fine. And then I wouldn't even know who you're talking to.
I see.
Okay, you would get a certificate at the end that you have participated in that consultation, and only then I can actually go forward and do this loan for you.
So, so that's to guarantee that you are fully informed and you know
That's the
what
intention. Yes.
that's the intention and
Yes.
you know what's going to happen and
What the
um
pitfalls are, what the um now I've never done such a consultation myself, so I don't know how it goes because I'm not in that situation. Um, but that for me is the point where you can ask all the questions
mhm,
that you want to ask that you would want an independent person to respond to.
mhm. Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah. So and that's what I'm saying. There is integrity in the process, and that's very important to make sure that everybody is protected. The one thing nobody can take away from you as the person making the decision is this the right product for me? You
Yes.
know, it's a little bit like when you go and buy a car and you go on to the car dealership and you see all these fancy cars and you say, oh, this is a beautiful car and this is a beautiful car. Okay, I'll go. I want this car there. Great. Let's say it's a sports car. Nice. Okay, good. And then winter comes and you're sliding through the snow. It's like, well, this is not a four-wheel drive. And the seller says, no, it's not.
You didn't buy a
You
four-wheel
didn't
drive.
exactly. So then you understand where I'm going with this. Do you always look at your situation and look at what do I really need? What do I want? Because if you know that you live in Colorado, there might be a four-wheel sports car, excuse me, which then might be the best thing for you.
Right.
But that conversation, you cannot expect that consultation to bring that up for you. And to some extent, I, as a loan officer, ask those questions because that's just what I do, but don't expect it.
Because you might have a loan officer who doesn't ask those
Correct,
kind of
because
questions.
yeah, because I mean, it's just how I see my job. I see my job more as an advisor,
Hmm.
and but by design, being a loan officer is not an advisory, not necessarily an advisory job. It's like a sales job.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, of course, we are required to make sure that you have all the information that you want. I see it a little bit more like and sorry, it's a weird uh, comparison, but a little bit like a doctor. You
Hmm.
know, when you go to the doctor and you're hurting in the stomach, and then the doctor is asking, what's going on in your life? Like
Yes,
a good doctor would ask what's going on in your life.
right.
Because if you're stressed out all day long, that stomach ache might just be connected to the stress. And then the doctor would deal differently with that stomach ache rather than when they say, and then the next question would be about food and, how do you eat and how often do you eat and all that kind of stuff. All to look at where does that stomach ache come from? And that's why when I'm in that situation, I'm asking those questions like, why do you want a reverse mortgage?
Right. Right. So for people to get clear about, is this for you or not?
Right. Because the reverse mortgage is a fantastic tool, okay, for the right situation, for the right people.
Ah, so talking to the consultant is crucial before you get to the loan officer
For the counseling, yes, correct.
to get the counseling
Mhm.
about, is this product what is really going to work for you?
And you probably will need to have several conversations. You could have um like depending on how you're hurting, you might go to more than one doctor,
Right?
right? So depending on the response that you get from the doctor, you either say, yeah, that makes sense, and I have a good feeling that the doctor really did a good job in asking the right questions. I'm going with that uh, result. But it could also be that you're like, I'm not sure that this that
Yeah.
all the
Do I
questions
do?
were or all the
Yeah.
questions were asked. You know,
Well, right. Or do I really want to have 4 feet of intestine taken out of my body?
correct.
You know?
Yeah. Before you do such a big thing, you ask a second opinion, at least a second, if not a third.
Ah, okay. That's
Now,
helpful.
the it's helpful and not, because here's the critical thing, obviously. If you get several opinions, they could be controversial, then you're stuck with making the decision. But the reality is you're stuck with that anyway.
Right. It's still, we're the ones on the hook.
It's your responsibility to make the decision that you want to make,
Right. And then
right?
live with it.
And then
Then
live with it. Yeah,
and
it's your decision if you
fulfill fulfill the terms of it.
correct. You know, it's your decision which car to buy. It's your decision whether you do the surgery or not. And so it's the same thing. It's your decision if you really want with this reverse mortgage and which version and all that kind of stuff. Um, my job and every other loan officer's job is to help you come to that decision the best way we can.
Hmm. Um, okay, well, here's just the one other thing
Hmm.
that I think we worry about is, can we trust this person?
Hmm.
And are there any red flags that we should be aware of, that the person we're talking to is not does not have our interests at heart.
Mhm.
Does and that we might get scammed in the process.
I mean, getting scammed is probably, I mean, it's possible, but as I said, these days, highly regulated. Mm, well, I don't want to say it's unlikely. That would be not correct. Every year we have to do it's called continued education to renew the license. And then we were being presented with all kinds of cases that happened during the previous year. So we hear about things that I would think are impossible these days with all the regulations. And yet some people find ways to commit fraud. It's very weird. So yes, it's absolutely a good thing to be cautious. Okay. Now, that said, being scammed could happen if you, let's say, you think you are with a big bank, with a big name bank, and actually it's just somebody pretending to be that big name bank.
Oh, and how would we know? Do do we need to investigate people's credentials or
Well, what you would go into, like, the same things apply here that apply to any online scam. Okay, you would look at things like the URL. So if it's online, then there is some interface, meaning you're going to some website through your browser. There will be some emails, all those different things. And you look at those and you look at, does that make sense? So for example, let's say you get an email that looks like that big name bank, and then it says, fill out this form here. But really when you respond, like you click on response just to find out, where would it go to? And the response says bignamebank@gmail.com. Then
Mhm.
that's not correct, because no big name bank would use a Gmail email address or Hotmail or Outlook or anything like that.
Ah, it would, and how should it look?
It should look something like you, there's a name, or um, like when you any email address that that you look at, okay, that you want to respond to would be, so let's say in my case, Stefan@bignamebank.com or support@bignamebank.com.
So
Okay,
it would be going directly to the bank. It wouldn't go through Gmail.
correct, correct.
Okay.
Because no lender, and I really mean no lender, is using Gmail as a professional email address.
Okay.
Okay,
Good to
and
know.
it doesn't. So yes, you definitely want to investigate. So let's say you get a call from somebody, or you get a recommendation from a friend that you met at a party or at a coffee shop or whatever it is, and they say, I got the best reverse mortgage from that and that lender, and they say, oh, let me know, I'm interested, blah blah blah, and you get that email and you look at the website and it's some name that you've never heard of.
Hmm.
Okay, that in itself doesn't mean anything, because there's so many lenders out there, and they're all legitimate. I'm not saying that they're all false. Okay, just because you don't know the name doesn't mean that they're a scam. All I'm saying is you then want to investigate. Look at Better Business Bureau,
Ah,
for example.
okay.
Okay. Look at, use that name. Let's say it's called Best Reverse Mortgage Lender. Fine. That's the name of the company. Um, you would put that in Google and add the word review at the very end,
Oh, okay.
and then see what comes up. Is there anything? Okay. Is there what do you see about that lender coming up?
So
And
is that just like a sort of informal Better Business Bureau
mhm.
type thing?
No, no,
Is,
no, 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 no. Review. So there's two different things that I just mentioned. The Better Business Bureau is an official one. Okay.
yes.
But not every company is mentioned in Better Business Bureau, for one. The second thing is almost any company, good companies that I know of, that I have been working with in different fields, not only in financials, also in IT and other aspects. I've seen companies that I've worked with that I know are good companies, and they have a maybe even less than 4-star rating on Better Business Bureau, because some people are just there. Some people are out there just getting upset about everything,
Okay.
and they're on a mission to just slam every company. Okay, so and that's something that that company cannot do much about. So I'm not saying that you only should work with 5-star companies, because then you won't get many. Okay, you could just go to the Better Business Bureau when we're done here and check out your bank and see how many stars they have. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Just
Okay.
to get to relate to this information and look at how relevant is that, how good is that.
Right.
Why I'm still pointing to Better Business Bureau is because you get the complaints, you can read them,
Right.
and then
Right.
you see, oh, that's just somebody who is just upset about a small thing or everything or whatever, and you see the response from the company as well, if there is one.
Gotcha.
And it's the same as if, let's say, you and I, and then there is a third person, we're standing together at a party and we're talking, and that third person is constantly complaining about stuff. You get a feeling, and you
Right.
realize, okay, whatever
Right.
they
So
say,
you have to use your own judgment as to how
exactly.
legitimate certain kinds of complaints are.
Correct. What I said about the reviews, though, is so when you do research for reviews, it could be Google reviews, all kinds of different reviews. That's just where people go and on different sites. Could be Nextdoor, could be Google reviews, could be Quora, could be Yelp, all kinds of different places where people leave reviews about companies.
Yes.
Same thing applies. When you go and read Amazon reviews, you also see the same thing. There's good reviews and reviews that are maybe not so good. Um, but yeah, you want
But you,
to definitely go ahead.
so that would give you, you could ask about that. You could say, I saw on
Correct.
Yelp that there were complaints about blah, blah, blah. How have
Hmm.
those been addressed?
Hmm.
You could ask those kinds of questions
Correct. Correct.
and see if you get a response that
Hmm.
satisfies you.
Yeah. Look, I've seen um, just last year, a coworker of mine got very upset about a lender, and really, like, there was repercussions within the company, within our company, where we then basically said, okay, we cannot work with that lender anymore. Okay, there was a management decision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I happened to know the account executive because I had a loan with that very lender running in the process.
Yes.
And so I asked him, I said, what happened there? It doesn't match with my experience. And he said, well, we had asked for documents that we needed. We had repeatedly asked for those documents. We never got those documents, and at some point, we had to decline the loan
Sure.
because we didn't receive the documents that we needed. And my coworker was upset about that, apparently. Now, I don't know where there was miscommunication. That was his story. That was her story. But that is pretty factual. If somebody says we need these documents and then they don't get it, of course a lender has to say no.
In order to be a legitimate business
and be compliant.
and be compliant with the law. Yeah,
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 yeah.
I see. Okay.
Look, there's situations. See, I as a loan officer, I'm required, that goes now off topic here, okay? That's not a reverse mortgage. That would be for a regular forward mortgage. Let's say you come to me and you ask for a 15-year mortgage to buy a house. And I'm looking at your financials. I'm like, there's no way you have you have no chance of paying that back.
Well, that's important.
Exactly. Well, I would not be allowed to give you that loan. I would have to decline the loan. Okay.
Because you
Now,
didn't meet the requirements.
yeah, you might not like that because
Right.
you might be convinced that you can pay it back, but I have to stand for you being able to pay it back. And the same thing is with the reverse mortgage. I need to stand for it. I need to stand for the reverse mortgage being the same, the right thing for you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, that's actually very positive.
That's why I said there is integrity in the process. Now, if you insist on the reverse mortgage and all the numbers are correct and you fulfill all the requirements, it's not on me to decline the loan. You know, you have requested the loan, and then I have to give it to you, even though I may think that it's not the right thing for you. I probably would say it to you.
Yes, I would hope.
I might, well, I might. Look, the thing is, there's situations where if I would say that, there are people who would then, you know, get on my back and say, you crossed the line. It's none of your business. We're going to somebody else.
Gotcha.
Or maybe even sue me for something.
Because you have your responsibility to the financial institution as well as
Correct.
to the borrower.
Of course, both. But not everybody appreciates the, let me say it like this. If you go to a restaurant and you order some food, better example, the bar, you know, the person that goes to the bar and gets one drink after the other and is clearly drunk at some point and orders yet another drink. There may come a point where the bartender says no. And the client says, I order it, I pay for it, I want it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the bartender is not regulated. That's their own integrity if they say yes or no.
Ah,
I'm in a regulated industry.
okay. So the limits are more uh, clear in a regulated industry.
Well, it's more, you probably wouldn't even notice, but there are ways how we ask for information or not ask for information that you don't even notice.
Hmm. Most likely.
But if we ask the wrong way, then we would be crossing a line and we would violate some law against, you know, racism or age discrimination or some other discrimination.
I see. Okay. Well, it's good to know that.
Yep.
Uh, I guess it now sounds more mysterious.
Well, in the end, it is always a conversation and there's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely want to find, I mean, you pointed to that earlier. You want to find a person that you trust. It's the same with a doctor. You want to find a person that you trust.
Right.
And if you don't trust that doctor, then you find another doctor.
Right.
And it's the
Well,
same thing here.
well, and ultimately then it's up to me
Totally.
to make the choice and to
Yes.
be responsible for my choices. And knowing that there are certain regulations that constrain the financial person, but I still am ultimately responsible for my own choices.
Mhm. And the best advice I can give is really ask questions.
Okay.
You know, seriously, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then, you know, in combination with the financial advisor, um, or financial planner, um, look at all the repercussions that there are. What if this happens? What if that happens?
Yes. Yes. Well, and you have to decide, look, what is important to me?
Hmm.
You know, what would happen if my husband dies?
Hmm.
What would happen if I get very sick? Well, it sounds like there are many facets to this.
That's
And
exactly what I mean. Yes.
well, we won't have time to go into all those things today, but I
Hmm.
hope you'd be willing to come back and talk with us again sometime.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Great. Thank you, Stephen, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks to Stefan Heinz for joining us today to talk about reverse mortgages, their advantages and pitfalls. So much appreciation to Stefan for being with us. As we draw this to a close, I want to let you know that you can reach Stefan if you have more questions about reverse mortgages or commercial real estate or financing. He's happy to hear from you. And you can reach him at the email listed in the notes or on LinkedIn. So look at the program notes and you'll be able to get into communication with Stefan directly. Second, I just request that you like us on Facebook at This Boomer Life, or check out our blog at Boomer Life in Colorado. And also, I just suggest to you that if you want to be happy and healthy, you check out the Amare Happy Juice and Triangle of Life. I take both of them every day, and it's made a big difference. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Hope to be talking with you again soon. Bye.